Well, greetings, everyone. It is September 23rd, Tuesday, 2025. Time? I don't know. Like yesterday, I didn't look. It's in the afternoon, obviously, maybe 2 o'clock. I don't know, where's the sun? Can't tell. Oh, look behind me. That is a statue. This is part of Zonsky Prospect. It's a big, long street in Minsk. Maybe the second biggest, maybe the third, I don't know. And strange, you know? Never thought about that. You know, we're told by Poland, maybe, and a couple other countries that the Soviet Union were allies of Nazi Germany. So why were they fighting against the Nazis? Doesn't make that much sense. Mia Sandow, different from Moldova, she says that the Nazis were the liberators. They're the ones that actually liberated all these countries. So you hear all kinds of crazy things. Nobody even knows what Kaya Kallas is saying this week. So she's kind of got her history mixed up a little bit as well. Maybe like what's her name? Baerback. No, Baerbock. She was called Baerback when she worked for the WEF. Well, that's what I heard anyway. So let's see what's going on here today as far as news is concerned. I've got another selfie stick. It's I can actually get it much farther away than this even. But then you probably can't hear me. Maybe you can't hear me now. Look at my buddy over here. I don't know. I thought he was watching me. I don't know, sitting there waiting, looking at me. I'm wondering why I'm talking to my cell phone on the end of a big stick here. Let's see if I can show you a little bit of the areas here. Some other major road. You've probably seen this area a little bit before. Let me just show you from this angle. Okay, right into the news here, which I am not doing. Azerbaijan seems to be sowing some discontent with Russia lately, and it was strange because we saw Armenia doing that, and now Armenia is again going back to be friends with Russia. When Pashinyan, the leader of Armenia, made his trip to China, he was so impressed. You know, and he wants in BRICS, he wants friendship with China, he wants big friendship with Russia. I really don't understand. I don't know if these people have some sort of I don't really know. If they're kind of dumb, they don't really see the world around them, and what are they judging their friends on? How advanced the country is? I don't know. Maybe they went to Annalena Baerbock School of Diplomacy, or Kaya Kallas. Maybe they're a joint team, Kaya Kallas and Baerbock, teaching diplomacy. The headmistress is Ursula von der Leyen, owned by the Clinton Foundation. Boy, I don't know. So anyway, if you remember about a month ago, Azerbaijan arrested some Sputnik, some Russian reporters, you know, from the Sputnik News conglomeration, you know, which also has RT, and they beat them up. They beat them up quite badly, and nobody really even knows the reason why. And I believe they might still be in captivity by Azerbaijan. And as you know, the government is trying to, you know, keep a diplomatic relationship with the government, the government of Russia with the government of Azerbaijan, and even the Sputnik higher-ups are trying to keep things calm between the two, and they don't really want to sour the relationship with Azerbaijan, but who knows? And it's now been put out just recently in the past days that Azerbaijan, probably with the full knowledge of the government and maybe corroborated with the government, they're selling weapons to Ukraine via Sudan. They're taking advantage, apparently, of the havoc in Sudan to get sending weapons around the long way, and I believe they might even be passing through Turkey. or past Turkey or whatever, but it's going to Ukraine. They're arming Ukraine. And I guess it's NATO weapons, of course. And Azerbaijan is now trying to cozy up with NATO, the United States, or whatever. And if you guys have been paying attention, and if you kind of can see the winds and the hints of things, the United States, Donald Trump included, of course, especially Donald Trump, I would say, is not friends of Russia. And if it might surprise you, Donald Trump is in truth not a big supporter of peace between Russia and Ukraine. Had you fooled, I'll bet, didn't he? In truth, Donald Trump, of course, he wants his peace prize. He wants to put on the appearance of a peacemaker to get his peace prize. And yeah, along with that, I guess one of his peace prizes that he should have gotten, he says, of his 6 or 7 peace prizes, is one between Rwanda and Congo. And apparently that's not working either. There's still fighting going on there. Congo has said that. The leader of Congo said, well, he thanks Donald Trump for his efforts anyway. And another thing he added to that, that the resources, the mineral resources and whatnot of Congo are not up for auction. Which Donald Trump, I guess that's part of it. He's using somehow what he would call trade as some sort of leverage to bring, in quotation marks, peace. And it kind of reminds you of Carney, the new Prime Minister of Canada. His idea of peace is to get weapons and money to Ukraine. Of course, a lot of people are thinking that way, along those lines. All of these people that love peace give more bombs and weapons as peace. Wow. I want to get out of the spotlight here. So many people around here. All of a sudden, lots of people around. There's a school there, I suppose. Okay, well, anyway, Azerbaijan, kind of stupid, you know, they say. 80% of their economy, 80% of the economy of Azerbaijan depends on Russia. So they do a lot of trade with Russia. That is by far and away their largest trading partner. And it's very strange, because if you remember that one time, and some people actually are even commemorating Turkey now, remember when they shot down, it was a Su-24 during this, when Russia entered this war in Syria, and they actually stopped ISIS. Very strange. You know, Donald Trump said he stopped ISIS, but you know, when the United States was there, ISIS was growing in leaps and bounds and taking huge amounts of territory very, very fast of Syria. Russia came in, and all of a sudden it stopped dead in its tracks. And ISIS, if they call it that, I don't know if that's the ISIS, Israeli Secret Intelligence Services, but anyway, that ISIS, that began to slowly disappear under Russia's participation in that Syria conflict. And of course, all of the main commanders, they would get their medical treatment and all that in Israel. And it's a really strange thing, as I've already mentioned before, that ISIS has never bombed anything or nothing to do with Israel. And you might even be surprised that in truth, they've never done anything, never bombed anything or touched anything that has anything to do with the United States either. Isn't that really strange? Or the UK, you know? Wow. The Islamic nation bombing and doing havoc in Islamic countries. But not what some people say the enemies of Islam. That, you know, I just can't figure that one out. I don't know if the rest of you can. You know, that's up to you. So, okay. Let me take a spin around. You can see some of the high-rise apartment building. Ooh, there's one right there. Right in front of me, right behind me now. Right in back. Right? Yeah, there it is. Okay. I don't know if I want to sit down. A little bit of drops. It was raining around here. Let me wipe this one off here. I don't want to make it look like I my pants. Okay. So let's see. I was talking about Azerbaijan. In Azerbaijan, you know, they're kind of like cruising for a bruising, I guess I would say. But you know, they're cozy. They've already been really cozy, as you know, with Turkey. And Turkey is a NATO country, and Erdogan doesn't seem to know what he wants to do. He wants to get in the European Union, and nobody knows why. And they have never let him in for, I don't know, what is it, 20 years or whatever, since the beginning. They've never let him in. And some people say that it's maybe because Turkey has a very good economy for the most part. Well, sometimes they do. The latest years they didn't have such a great economy. You know, earthquakes, and you know, they were participating in the Syrian war too, and I don't know, their economy went down in some ways. And you have Ukraine threatening to bomb the gas pipeline. Russia seems to be the best friend of Turkey, but Turkey doesn't, at least Erdogan doesn't seem to recognize that. You know, he's doing everything for Turkey, maybe turning it into a major gas hub, since the United States blew up the other gas lines. By the way, somebody was talking about, who was that? I don't know. Somebody, some joker talking about, you know, as Donald Trump is saying that, you know, oh, the good friend of Russia, let's be friends with Russia. You know, Donald Trump, the same guy, he's telling all the Europeans they better stop buying Russian gas. You know, oh no, because he wants peace via destroying Russia's economy. Oh no, big helicopter, look at this up here. Because I don't know if I can get it. Oh, there it is. Wow, that's huge. That's a huge helicopter. Maybe you can see it now. Let's see. Okay, but anyway, what was I talking about? Something that's not in my notes, so I lost track of it. Anyway, you know what I mean, even if I didn't finish it. But I think, what was it, about trade? No, Azerbaijan I talked about already. Armenia. Anyway, that area's got some potential of getting very messed up. I don't know. I'm wondering how that is going to work itself out. It's not that serious yet. And I think I was talking about Turkey, but there's going to be a little bit more about Turkey. I have something to say about Erdogan. There's always something about Erdogan, you know, the loose cannon on deck. Let's go switch over now to Israel. There was a hostage from Hamas, an Israeli hostage, and I guess they put him on a video, and some guy with his dog right here. This guy made a video, you know, obviously with Hamas made the video of him, and he's talking about Benjamin Netanyahu, and I think he was pleading maybe with the Israeli people and saying, don't let Benjamin Netanyahu kill us. And, you know, Benjamin Netanyahu, in truth, he doesn't really give a damn about any people any more than Zelensky does. And, you know, they're both two peas in a pod, I guess you could say, in so many different ways. And so he's not so happy about that, this guy. And I don't know if you guys ever saw that video, but it's out there. It's out there. You can probably find it. I don't know if you have to have the dark web or something like that. If you're in the United States, you know, a lot of things are blocked. You know, there's a lot of things blocked also in Russia, by the way. It's just strange. You know, you can come to Belarus and you can watch everything from the West. You can watch everything from Russia. You can watch everything, you know, and nothing is really blocked here. Oh, but yet he's an evil dictator. Lukashenko, the president here, is an evil dictator. No freedom of speech and this and that and the other thing. No, it's a very strange thing. Most people, as I always say, they don't really understand Lukashenko. I kind of think I do. I think I understand him more than most Belarusians, and a lot of foreigners understand Lukashenko better than the Belarusians do. You know, they got, you know, some bad taste in their mouth after 2020 when the West was seriously trying to overthrow the government of Belarus and wanted to kill the entire family, Lukashenko and his family. That's a well-known fact. And Lukashenko acted accordingly, as actually how you should act. And I guess the Belarusians didn't like that. I guess they wanted him to act in such a way that gets him and his family killed, and the entire country becomes hostage to the West. I guess that's what they wanted, which would be a very bad thing. And you see these apartments in these buildings right here, I'll tell you what, the price would go up drastically. They'll be paying whatever they're paying for say right now, and I think most of these people here, they're pay for all of their bills, house maintenance costs. Well, this one has an elevator, so maybe it's just 10 rubles more. So maybe, okay, add $4 onto that. So, you know, with all their bills, probably averages, depending on, it doesn't really depend that much on the size of your apartment, not that much, but they probably pay around $50 a month through the whole year. So $50 a month times 12. And if you pay maintenance costs for same apartment, say in Germany, you're going to pay, depending on what, now then it depends on what city. See, over here in Belarus, it really doesn't depend so much on the city, because your costs are pretty much going to be the same whether you're living in a smaller town or a bigger town. The price of your apartment is going to be cheaper in a smaller town. Obviously, it's going to be much more expensive when you buy one in Minsk. But as far as all your costs, it's going to be about the same in most all places. But if you do this, and I'll tell you what, your house maintenance costs maybe, they vary quite a bit more in, say, Germany. You know, I've looked at this. It's not like you're gonna really go broke, but it's gonna be much more, of course, in, say, Frankfurt or Hamburg or Munich than it is in Plauen. And I saw the prices in Plauen, which used to be a major city in the United States. The U.S. Embassy used to be there, by the way. And I remember like a apartment there, and I think the monthly cost back in 2015 or 16, what you have to pay for your house maintenance cost, which is your house maintenance and your heating bill. It doesn't include your water bill or your electricity. And back then it was like 250 euros a month. Same apartment inside of Minsk, you might pay 50 euros, maybe. Probably a little less than that, 50 euros a month. So a huge difference. Food costs are less here. You might pay a little bit more for if you want a big screen TV and all that kind of stuff. I don't know. But anyway, it's a lot less expensive here. And I'll tell you what, if these Belarusian people, some of them, if they think that they want this country to be taken over by the West, they're in for a very rude awakening. And they're going to find out, well, I don't know, I guess I would say something different. I would say be careful what you wish for. Let's just end it at that. Let me get back to my news here. It looks like a U.S. ambassador to Ukraine, I believe he was, he says NATO must stop buying Russian oil. Of course, he's just a mouthpiece of Trump. And he was mentioning Poland. And Poland, I think I might have mentioned already, that's, you know, that back when the Nord Stream pipelines were blown up by Joe Biden administration, and so that Germany can't get Russian gas. As a matter of fact, one of those pipelines is still intact, but Germany refuses, of course, to buy. What's that kid over there? Refuses to buy that gas, and the AFD says turn it on, you know, so we can bring our gas prices down. But I guess it shows how much the government of Germany really cares about their people. You know, they don't want that cheap gas. They want to pay LNG from the United States. So, but anyway, I guess it was like the day after, the very next day, it was, I think it was Sikorski, he was the foreign minister, I believe, of Poland. He put out a tweet, if you call it a tweet anymore, on X. I guess it was X at that time. He showed a picture of all of this gas being released, you know, on the top of the ocean. You know, it showed the huge amounts. It was like huge, really huge, like 5 city blocks big. You know, you couldn't drive a ship, you couldn't sail a ship over the across where all this liquid natural gas was coming out and leaking into the environment, which is of course the biggest release of greenhouse gases in the history of the world. And even Greta Thunberg said, oh, it's okay, because, you know, it hurts Russia, I guess, even though it hurts Germany far, far more. But anyhow, he said thank you. I think his name's Sikorsky, this foreign guy. And I think it was like the very next day, the gas line from Norway to Poland was opened up. So then Poland started getting all this natural gas. But anyway, this ambassador, I guess from the United States, he's an American ambassador. I guess he's from the United Nations. Maybe it is to Ukraine. I'm not even positive. Kind of a bald-skinned guy. I keep thinking his name is Miller. But he was saying Poland doesn't get any Russian gas anymore. But obvious it's because they get their gas from Norway. They got a big pipeline that was opened up, and they don't really need to get Russian gas. And but I believe the northern Druzhba, I think it still goes through Poland. It goes through Belarus and then through Poland, I believe. I'm not quite sure. It doesn't matter to me anyway. Some of that does get to, that's oil, though. That's oil. That does get to Europe. But, you know, the Nord Stream, I guess, was the gas line. Now, I think Europe pays triple the amount what they did for Russian gas because they're buying it from the United States. And whatever, but a lot of people don't have that option quite so much, like Slovakia and Hungary, so they really do rely on Russian gas. And then of course that's going through the southern Druzhba pipeline, which goes through Ukraine, and Ukraine keeps blowing that up, as you all know. So anyway, that's a little bit of some common stuff that a lot of people might already know about. Okay. A lot of drone attacks in the past day or so from Ukraine. And of course they're bombing civilians, lots of them. Some places more than others. Same helicopter coming back. So I'm gonna have to yell again maybe. Well, you guys can hear me anyway. It's just loud in my ears maybe. Okay. But anyway, mass drone attacks, they do a lot of that. And I guess this is on the eve of the General Assembly, which started already now. The General Assembly in New York, as you all know, of the United Nations. And Annalena Baerbock is, you know, the great, brilliant 360-degree Baerbock. I guess she is the General Secretary in charge of the General Assembly, I guess. Says everybody only gets 3 minutes to talk. Anyway, it's getting loud for me because the helicopter's right up above here. Maybe they're after me. Flying the same path, by the way. Right up above here. Looks like a luxury helicopter. I'll tell you what, it's probably a tour helicopter. If you can see it. Okay, mass drone attacks. Kind of like Israel bombing everybody, and you know, Ukraine is, you know, they both like to bomb civilians. Zelensky and Netanyahu, they like to see civilians dying, to kill innocent people. I guess they feel like big men. I'm a big man, I can kill innocent people, man, look at me. So a reporter, as you might have already known, I haven't heard from her for quite a long time, but Ava Bartlett, I guess she's Canadian, and she put out something also yesterday, or was that today? Maybe it was today, or it wasn't any more than 24 hours ago, that Canada continues to send billions of dollars to Ukraine. And I guess her point was that Carney, just like Trudeau, his predecessor, are still very much into this war. And it's kind of like Donald Trump. Maybe he's cut things down a little bit. Maybe he's just disguising it, and he's actually sending a lot of help to Ukraine as well. And I was just already making that point a little bit. It's very clear and it's obvious and it's undeniable that the United States is very much on the side of Ukraine. And of course, I think Donald Trump, just about like any of these other people, they want to see a strategic defeat of Russia, of course. It's the entire West, and it's been their dream for quite some time. Donald Trump, I guess he might consider himself, I get another prize, look at these hands, because I am the one that was finally defeated Russia. I had the greatest economy in the world. I did the vaccines faster than any human could possibly make them in all of world history. Even Vladimir Putin said I was the greatest that ever lived. I'm exaggerating a little bit. And Donald Trump, I am now announcing, because I did the research personally, that Tylenol is a big major point of autism, even though that has been said for already 2 years. People have been putting that out, that somehow they saw a link. I think it probably even says if you're pregnant, don't take Tylenol. I don't know. But anyway, I guess it was definitively put out now. I kind of applaud the efforts of Robert Kennedy. He's really, really under fire. As a matter of fact, Donald Trump even said that. Basically, he said stuff like, Kennedy can't say this. He can't get away with it, but I can. You know, so Kennedy, they would crap all over him if he tried to say that. You know, but anyway, a lot of these fever-reducing drugs, I tell you, to be honest with you guys, I'm not really into any kind of prescription drugs at all. I do take some, what do you call it? On very rare occasions, I take aspirin and I might take ibuprofen, but that's, I don't know, maybe once every couple of years or something like that. I don't really, strangely enough, I don't really get any headaches anymore, and I do get some, you know, muscle pains a little bit, you know, from doing a lot of exercise. Maybe 3 times a week I try to run 8 kilometers, and you know, I do all at one time. I do 50 push-ups, you know, non-stop, and mine are a lot better than RFK's though, or what's his name, Hegseth. You know, those you can't, I don't think in the army that they could count those push-ups. Those are pretty wimpy. Maybe they can do some things I can't do. I can't do pull-ups. As a matter of fact, a guy was just doing pull-ups on these bars over here, and you know, I have a shoulder problem, and slowly over years I think it might be getting better. Maybe I can do some pull-ups a little bit, but if I start doing them, you know, I'll start, you know, it gets worse and worse on my shoulders and all that. And I was doing it once, like, what was it, like a year and a half ago, and it wasn't helping at all. It was getting worse. I think I was maybe only doing 6 then, but maybe a couple, sometime before that I was doing 10, you know, and you know, that was enough for me. But I do them different way. I do it this way and I do that way. But anyway, nothing exciting, nothing to do with the news here. Oh, what else here? It's also known by a lot of people, I don't know, in case you guys didn't know this, but like small children, and one of the things, if your child gets vaccinated, and your child, or you know of children that get vaccinated and then they have fever, don't give them Tylenol, because apparently that also causes autism. Maybe it brings the fever down, but it makes it worse, and then afterwards a lot of children get autism after that. So I just would advise not to try it. You know, it's not that all children are going to get it, but I don't know, a lot of people are different. It's like me, I couldn't get vaccinated with this COVID stuff, because I probably wouldn't be making this video if I would have done it. I've got some sort of, I shouldn't even say this, you know, because you have governments and agencies that will target you if they find out you have some sort of a weakness. They will use that and, you know, try to eliminate you. But you know, a lot of relatives of mine have died from problems related to blood clots. So I think it would be really stupid. I'd have to have a stupid written on my face to put something in me that is known to cause blood clots. So I didn't do that. Okay. What else there? But Bernie Sanders, he'll tell you to do that. Of course, Bernie Sanders, you know, Bernie Sanders gets most of his money. I think he's a big pharma guy. You know, he gets a lot of money from big pharma. That is, that funds his campaign. So I even put out, what was that, in the last video, saying how Bernie Sanders, you know, he wants still huge amounts of money to be going to big pharma to create vaccines for sicknesses that don't exist yet. You know? And that's kind of what they were doing with, well, that's what they were telling us that they were doing with COVID. But, you know, they were trying to make a sickness, and, you know, the spike protein, and they used bats and all that sort of thing. And first, you know, remember the beginning, they were trying to tell you that somewhere in Wuhan, China, some cages where bats were up above pooping on other things, and some ate it, or no, the bats ate it. I don't know. It was turned out to be fake, and then they even put that in a movie. They put it at the end of the movie, you know, trying to make us all get scared. I tell you what they do to us is just absolutely incredible. But you know, and Bernie Sanders was talking about how RFK hates children or something. Anyway, so Bernie Sanders, he's just as corrupt as all the rest of them. You guys got to realize that, in case you don't already. I don't want to be a silhouette. I have to face this direction. Crooked Bernie. No, wait, that was Crooked Hillary. But anyway, Tara Reid, if you guys ever remember her, I guess she was this woman that was accusing Biden of sexual harassment. And I think she had to flee the United States, so she came to Russia. So she is living in Russia, by the way. And she just got her citizenship from Vladimir Putin. Have you heard of that guy? But she's a high-profile type of person. I guess she was, I don't know, she's getting asylum. You know, she probably could go back now, and she'd probably be welcomed with open arms by Donald Trump. You know, but anyway. Maybe not. You never know. You never know. Some of these establishment guys, they take care of each other. You know, I've been to these playgrounds sometimes. Look at it. And when you can go to Belarusian playgrounds. I don't know if you can see that. Let's see. And you see the children leave their toys here and they don't disappear. I don't think you can do that in the US of A or any other place. Here's a bucket over here, and here's some bucket over here. Probably a kid's sweater. And a truck over there. More toys over here. They probably leave them here. They're probably here all the time. Some kids playing ball. Oh, more toys over there too. But anyway. Talking about children, by the way. Anyway, Tara Reid. Somebody asked her, I guess on TV, I think it was RT, and they were asking her, what has she found that's better in Russia than in the United States? She said, you know, that she's seen many cities in the USA, of course, that she's seen many cities. She mentioned a lot of them in Russia. And she says that she noticed that, you know, and she was recently back in the USA. Maybe that was a year ago, I don't know. And she's talking about how dilapidated the United States is. And it's not only that, she was saying, you know, that things are run down. You know, I noticed that long time ago. I have no idea what things are like now. I don't know. I can't really comment because I haven't been there really for so many years. Haven't been around, been to places, and you know, and you see like a lot more trash. I mean, it's no comparison with Belarus, of course. You guys watch these videos too. I mean, if you're a regular, and you see how things are here. Things were much worse a long time ago, and it slowly got better. I have a very unique experience. I was here like right around the year 2000, and then I came, I believe maybe the next time was around 2007, and I was like shocked in 2007. I said, wow, things are really nice, getting nice around here. And I could even list a few of the things that weren't quite as nice. I really could, but I don't want to waste too much time. And then I came back in recently, you know, end of 2021, December, so it ended practically 2022, and it was like, I was really shocked. And then, you know, after living in Germany for a while and living in the Caribbean in a developing country, I was like looking at Belarus, and I was said, geez, I said, this is actually now better than Germany. And it's like, you know, as you look, and you got to realize, you know, they have some harsh winters here, but look at, they keep the buildings painted. These are big buildings. They keep everything in repair. You know, the grass is mowed. The garbage is picked up, and it's not like, and in Germany, I'll tell you what, if I was in Berlin, this would all be up past my knees, all this grass right here. And you might see some guys sitting in here doing drugs, sitting around, and police would be arresting drunkards and things like that. In the parks in Germany, I remember, even back then, you know, on a lot of days, you have these people that are getting welfare, and they sit around on the benches with their dogs, watching their dogs fight while they're all getting drunk during the daytime. Kind of strange. That's what it's all about there. Anyway, let me keep going here. Tara Reid, what else did she say? She was talking about the cities, you know, and it's even small cities. Because a lot of people are saying, oh, you mean just Moscow? And no, she says, no, I've been to this city, this city, this city, this city, many, many, many places in Russia. And it's just the same in Belarus. And a lot of things, I have to admit, a lot of things, you know, there are some things better in Russia, maybe than Belarus, but there are some things that are better in Belarus than in Russia. Like, for example, like a 10, I don't know how many floors is this stuff here, you know. You could literally, you could have 10 floors in an apartment in an apartment building in Russia, and there's no elevator. In Belarus, if there is more than 5 floors, oh, I gotta kick this soccer ball, you have to have an elevator. So that's by law. So even these older buildings that didn't have elevators, they put them outside the stairwell. They have to get an engineer, I guess, to probably figure out how in the heck are they going to put an elevator, and they do, and it's done. So I don't know. I don't know how many years you get if you had an apartment building that didn't have one and have to put one on. But anyway, let's keep going. She said that she had seen in the United States, you know, the places are violent crimes. But I'll tell you what, even way back when I was in high school, there was violent crimes in America. And I try to compare that with Belarus, and they're just never heard of here, you know. You just don't hear about it. You don't hear about it anywhere, you know. And people in your school that's happened to, things like that, and then sometimes, you know, rapes and things you never hear about until somebody tells you maybe a year later that somebody, you know, things like that happen in America. That's how it is anyway. But her words were, you don't get that here in Russia. Well, even less in Belarus, to be honest with you. Okay. Erdogan, did I tell you that? Erdogan said to Brett Baer, I guess it's from Fox News, that he does not see Hamas as a terrorist organization. Well, I'll tell you what. Do you? I mean, people do. People that have never even met anybody in Hamas. The only thing you know about Hamas, the only thing I know about Hamas, the only thing most everybody knows about Hamas is told to you by Israel. Now, I think when you take philosophy class, I think on the first day, they give you some sort of a riddle, and they say, you know, I'm not even sure how that goes, but they're telling you, that, you know, I think the question is like, who do you believe? And then it's one thing is like somebody who lies all the time, and somebody who sometimes tells the truth or whatever. And it's some kind of a weird thing. But in any case, it's pretty obvious that when somebody lies to you to their advantage all the time, and it's even a proven fact. It's been proven beyond any shadow of a doubt that Israel has lied many, many, many times about Hamas. They've lied about Hezbollah, and they lie, and they lie, and they lie. They lie about all sorts of things. It's just constantly lying. And, you know, it's just, I'm talking about some of these people up on the top. Now, you might get a lot more truth if you see articles from the Haaretz newspaper. And I think maybe sometimes even from the Jerusalem Post. But a lot of this stuff, I don't know. In the government, you know, the government, the present government right now, I don't think you can believe anything they say. They're a huge bunch of liars. Anything that is to their advantage, they're going to lie to you, and they're very, very skilled at it. And I can't emphasize that enough. It's like Ben Shapiro or something like that. Anyway, so Erdogan, he does not consider Hamas. I don't. I'll tell you what. He said, I think they're resistance fighters. And of course, if you put yourself in the shoes of Hamas, you might be doing even worse than whatever they're doing. And I tell you what, a lot of the things they say, rapes or murders or stuff, I don't see any evidence. That nobody does. You know, it's like Roger Waters when he was talking with, what's his name, Piers Morgan. You know, Israel comes up with these accusations when there is absolutely zero proof of it. And then when you find out, you know, what happened on that day, October 7th, and it's... Somehow I turned my video off. Like I said, I have a new selfie stick. We have the helicopter going over again. It looks like they're looking for somebody. Maybe looking for a lost person or a criminal or whatever. Anyway, I was talking something about Piers Morgan. What was it? About Roger Waters and all that. So it was Roger Waters telling Piers Morgan that a lot of the stuff that has been put out is all fake stuff, you know, about Hamas raping women and all that sort of deal. And in truth, I don't know if I got that far, that it was a lot of these people that were killed. It wasn't killed by Hamas, they were killed by the Israelis. And there are Israelis in, I don't think I said this on the first segment when I accidentally shut this thing off, but Israeli soldiers testified in a court of law that they were told to kill Israelis. They were told to kill other Israelis, and they even mentioned the Hannibal Directive. So this has gone in front of the courts in Israel, and it's very strange how Israel has this ability to make this fade out of history so that nobody talks about it anymore, and yet they keep on harping and harping and harping and harping, and they keep on telling us and drilling it into our heads that Hamas did it, that Hamas did it, that Hamas did it. And I guess that's how they can change history and make everybody feel that the truth is not the truth anymore, but the lie is the truth. It's very incredible, absolutely incredible. I tell you, masters of manipulation, unbelievable. So where was I at here? And matter of fact, that's just before I went into different subjects. Bear with me, people, bear with me. Bill Gates, I guess maybe that I didn't get that in. I was talking also about Bill Gates. He has now funded the research into some ticks, something to do with ticks, you know, cattle ticks. And he believes that this is some nasty stuff if you think about it. When these ticks bite these cows, he had this, the scientist had this belief that these cows won't fart anymore, they won't fart as much or whatever. I have not the faintest idea. Anyhow, turns out that when these ticks bite human beings, which they have, and apparently there's been 450,000 cases already about these ticks, they get something called, the people get something called the alpha-gal syndrome, and they become allergic to red meat. So Bill Gates, so they can't eat red meat, so it makes you really strange. I think I was also mentioning, like I said, they got cut off, that Bill Gates, he's got an addiction to beef. As he comes from the same town as I do, you know, and I grew up hearing a lot about this stuff. And my cousin, they had a condominium right near, well, across the street almost from Microsoft. But there was a lot there. Maybe there was another building. They tore it down, and they had a Burger King built there, which is in a strange place, right across from where Microsoft was at. And you know, it's right next door to where my cousin lived, in the condominium there. Well, his father had probably quite a few condominiums. I know of a different one. Anyway, but Paul lived in that condominium, and he would go to Burger King, and he would eat with Bill Gates on quite a few occasions. And Bill Gates, as I said, he was addicted to beef, so he would get, I don't know, a lot of time people are not supposed to be able to get hamburgers, I guess, in the morning for breakfast, but old Bill Gates did. Or maybe he came in at, maybe when they started serving at 10. I have not any idea anymore about their laws or something, or their rules. I mean, oh, no hamburgers until after 10 o'clock. I don't know. So anyway, Bill Gates loves his beef. Very strange. Now he made these ticks. You know, makes you wonder if he'll ever get bit by this tick and he'll have his allergy. So he'll want to have his beef hamburgers, and he can't have them anymore. And he wants to reduce the amount of, some guy watching me. He wants to reduce the amount of cows apparently in the world because they fart too much, and the flatulence destroys the environment or something like that. I have not the faintest idea. You know, Bill Gates, got some crazy stuff. But anyhow, alpha-gal syndrome, allergy to red meat. Just remember that. So you don't want to be running around, I guess, in places where there's a lot of cows and high grasses. You might gonna, well, if you don't want to eat red meat anymore, I guess maybe do go run around those places. Trump put out that the U.S. Well, he said, how do you say that? That the U.S. funds big mouth, the big mouth of the Baltics. You know, the Chihuahua states. You know, they got little mouths actually, but well, they got big mouths because they talk. You know, like Estonia, they threatened Russia that they are going to, you know, destroy Russia. If Russia ever threatens them, they are going to destroy Russia. You know, with one hand tied behind their back. And you know, the Baltic states and you know, they're threatening Belarus and all that as well. I think they get, what is it? Which one of those countries has 4,000 people in the military? You know, it's like a battalion or something like that is all. You know, and what does Russia have now? 1.7 million people. I mean, it's kind of not a fair fight. But anyway, they think that they're tough and they're going to conquer Russia. But, you know, obviously, it's because the U.S., you know, it's like Rocket and Groot. I'm Groot. You know, from Guardians of the Galaxy. You know, they're going to sick the United States. I don't know. These countries are really bold when the United States promises that they're going to, you know, all they have to do is do something for the United States or whatever. I have no idea. I don't know, you know, bunch of, you know, makes you wonder if these countries had to fend for themselves, they'd probably be very friendly countries. And they would be anti-war and who knows what else. They probably wouldn't have much of a military at all. They don't have much of a military anyway. But that's, anyway. Now, Estonia, they want British airplanes armed with nukes, with nuclear bombs. And part of the F-35, as you all know, that means they have to be nuclear bomb ready. If you want F-35s, you have to have the nuclear packet. And of course, that is a stipulation by the United States. They have to be ready to carry nuclear bombs, and that was put out by the United States. If you want F-35s, you have to be ready to have nukes that they can be put on them. Wow, strange stuff. So, what else? Poland also wants nukes, by the way. I have something I think here. Hope I don't forget to say that they want French nukes. I'll just say it now then. They want French nukes. Okay. Before the General Assembly started, Zelensky said Ukraine needs 65 billion in external financing for the year 2027. It's not even 2026 yet, but I guess maybe it's lately they're supposed to be getting 8 billion extra along with whatever else they're getting from the IMF. You know, and you know, there's never enough thirst for money for Zelensky. You know, a lot of that goes to his luxury, his businesses and his luxury palaces all over the world. It's, you know, got the mining industry, he's got a winery, he's got casinos. His parents, you know, early on he bought, you know, huge complex for his parents in Israel. Maybe that's why Israel loves him so much too. I don't know. I think they have like 7 or 8 buildings on there. A huge complex with swimming pools and all that for his parents. You know, big multi-million-dollar thing, you know, along with his palaces and his swimming pools. I don't even know if he really gets to go enjoy those things, you know. I think he rents them out. As a matter of fact, I know he rents them out. But anyway, that's another story, and everybody knows about that already. I guess, but you know, a lot of that white powder costs a lot of money too, so he's got to be getting that. Oh, there's some guys going around some weird cart. I don't know. I won't show it to you guys, but they're for mowing grass and stuff like that. That's why you hear sometimes this stuff in the background. So let's see. He's there today, right now. I think he's landed, of course, already on a begging tour. I think he's supposed to meet Trump today, and of course, it's a big begging tour. The General Assembly. Zelensky's in heaven. He is absolutely in heaven. He's going to hit up as many people as he possibly can. You give me $1 billion. You give me $1 billion. No, thank you very much. I want another $1 billion. Do you know of any big apartments or houses or businesses that I can buy in your country? No? Just thought of a song, but I can't say that song on YouTube. Anyway. Putin is showing, this is really something. Now this has actually got me a little bit rattled. Putin is showing that he's very concerned lately, and we know about one reason why, is because of the expiring START treaty, and there's no time now to rewrite the START treaty, and it's going to be, it's going to run out very soon now. I'm not even sure when, but maybe in the next month. I think this guy's going to come over, making even more noise here. I'm probably going to have to get out of this area here. It's going with the weed eater over there. Some weed eater guy over there. Maybe he'll go the other way. So he is very concerned about that, but of course it's related to other problems. Let me see if I can get into it a little bit. I'm not sure if I wrote it all down here. One of the problems is because with this treaty expiring, Poland is also asking for nukes, as I said, and of course Estonia now they want nukes. And a little bit of a part of this is that Poland has been threatening Belarus, and of course all of them, you know, Lithuania and Latvia have been threatening Belarus as well, and Poland. So there's a little girl here too. So toys on the ground. Let me go for a walk here then. So they've been threatening Belarus, and I've been mentioning that in other videos, and they have actually said in their training, they have trained, what is this, the Kalinovsky Brigade? You know, they're training in Ukraine. A lot of them are killed because they're fighting the Russians in Ukraine, but they still have some of them. And Tikhanovskaya, who is living in Lithuania, Latvia? Lithuania, I believe. And of course she is threatening Belarus, and she is actually advocating for militants that maybe left Belarus in 2020 when they were trying to overthrow the government. You know, the West was using, you know, these people that they were using, you know, through Radio Free Europe and Voice of America and all of this stuff. And I've talked about that. You know, they have still some of these things like in Kazakhstan and all that, where they're training these people. They train them how to conduct protests, you know, even making signs and all that stuff. It's funded. You know, you sit around and you watch America. My phone kept shutting off. I guess it wasn't me pressing any buttons or anything like that, or anything about the new selfie stick. I guess it's because I ran out of storage on my phone. I had to delete a whole bunch of things. So this is now a little bit later. Anyway, I was talking about how a lot of these agencies like you know, they're CIA cutout agencies, as you all know, like what is it called, Radio Free Europe and Voice of America and all, and you go to these meetings and they train you how to do all of these dastardly things. And of course now it's getting a lot worse. I've mentioned before in the past in a lot of my videos of a guy who was one of the guys in charge of the expansion of NATO, named Gunther Fehlinger, and he's part of this. And you know, he's even got, he hates Belarus. Let me start out by saying that his #1 country he hates the most is Belarus. It's because Lukashenko has foiled him. You know, even though he's not the guy in charge of doing the overthrows, he's actually the guy that that's in charge of the expansion of NATO in such a way as like how it will expand, you know, and cutting Russia into either 30 or 40 countries, depending on what graphic you've seen. And Belarus, I believe it's supposed to keep its usual borders, and a lot of the reason maybe for that is the population of Belarus isn't really that high. I'm just guessing, and most people here are farmers and very peaceful people, so maybe they don't feel a threat from Belarus, but they just feel a threat from the government, and they want Belarus as a stepping stone, of course, to take over Russia, because it's right on the border. And you know, that's the United States and what do you call it, the deep state, or that's how these people work anyhow. And so he hates Belarus very much. And the second most hated country, I know this because he's put it out in tweets himself, you can find it, is Serbia, and they're really working overtime right now trying to overthrow Serbia to put in a compliant, say, dictator or whatever there, get a government that will do the bidding of the West, the supposed West, which is a lot of this is run through the Open Society Foundation of George Soros. Very strange. And, tied to the United States and the deep state and mostly the Democratic Party. Soros, I think one reason why Trump wanted to shut down a lot of these agencies is because, him and the Soros people, they don't get along very well. They, in fact, hate each other. Soros hates Donald Trump with a big passion. And a lot of these agencies like Voice of America and all that, this is to a large extent run through George Soros and Open Society, controlled through CIA and all that sort of a deal. And it's, as a lot of you know, like agencies like the FBI is normally, it used to be a territory belonging to Hillary Clinton, the Clinton family and all that. And of course, Clinton is puppets of Soros. It's all kind of these weird ties. Very strange about all of this stuff, So anyway, a lot of this training, and they have workshops and things like that. You watch American movies, you get some Levi's, you get to order stuff and all that sort of thing. Watch movies, and they try to convince you that you love America, and that happened quite a bit here in Belarus. And anyway, the overthrowing of Belarus, and maybe it looks, I'm hoping that definitely, at least for right now, they can put their plans on hold. And Victoria Nuland has come right out, and she has said that she's going to continue, well, when she was in charge anyway, she was Assistant Secretary of State, continue trying to overthrow the government of Belarus. And I don't think there's that much changed about that. But like I said, I took a lot of time, and I had to delete all kinds of things from my phone to get some storage and all that. And I kind of lost track of where I was. So bear with me for a second here while I try to find out. A lot of kids and everything running around here all over the place, screaming. So let's see, where was I? I'm going to cut out, get out of this place. Kids all over, and not that I hate kids, guys looking at me. And so I talked about Bill Gates already, Baltic countries. Yeah, Zelensky wanting money. I was talking about Putin and his showing concern, because that's actually a big subject. And, some things going on. Azerbaijan, Armenia right now is a little bit calm. And Poland, there's some things going on there. They want nukes, and there's always this stuff every day. And, Putin has to deal with a lot of this stuff. And so look at this, how everybody's on their phones. Even here, that lady's on her phone. There's another lady, she's on her phone. Oh, she just hung up. Okay. Jeez. I'm on my phone. So let's see. Some other bad news for Russia. NATO, and this is some really hairy stuff, and for some odd reason people aren't talking about this, but there's already French and UK troops, I'm talking military, some soldiers in Odessa, Ukraine. And, that's NATO troops in Ukraine. And remember, Putin was saying that that's a red line, and maybe they're not trying to broadcast that so much, because then Putin will have to react. So they're not mentioning that too much, but the Russian security has already mentioned that they have troops there. And of course, there are other NATO troops, and they're amassing on the borders of Romania. They moved a lot into Romania, and they're on the borders there with Moldova. And as I said, Romania, for the most part, has I guess you'd say they have a border with Odessa. And that's probably how they very quickly got some troops in there. And so there's something really that might just happen there. And there's a big threat of Transnistria as well. As you know, Transnistria is kind of a no man's land. They have they're sympathetic to Russia. Moldova says that belongs to them. And Moldova, the present government, Mia Sandu, she really, really hates Russia. And not to mention the fact on the 28th of September, they have a vote. And that's going to be some contention. Now, a lot of these troops that are on the border, now this might have to do a little bit with the fact that there is a vote, And as you all know, the leader of Gagauzia, which is, I guess you'd say, they're very sympathetic to Russia, even though they're of Turkish origin, those people. And it's part of Moldova, but they don't like Moldova. And you could even say that a very large portion of the population of Moldova, they're not very happy with Maya Sandu. They don't like Maya Sandu, and their sympathies lie with Russia. So, and this vote is a parliamentary vote. It's not for the presidency or anything of Moldova. So this is, it's actually a big vote. It's very important. And as you can guess, most everybody says there's going to be a huge amount of cheating. They cheated massively, massively, massively in the last vote. The people know that, and there's a lot of people pretty pissed off about that there in Moldova, that Maya Sandu and the European Union, of course, Ursula von der Leyen, I tell you what, these are some dastardly, dastardly people, you know, but we're supposed to love them. We're supposed to love them. Democracy, you know, not apple pie, but democracy and all that kind of stuff, and freedom. Some crazy stuff, baby. 28th of September, so you might see some fireworks around there. Some people are saying, maybe they're going to make this, you know, you never know what these troops are for. Maybe they're thinking in case people riot so much, because I would say a very, very large percentage, you know, you might say 50%, you might even say the majority of them do not like Maya Sandu at all. So they might be there to quiet people down for the vote. Very strange that you get foreign troops moving in to Moldova to quiet down Moldova's problems. Or it might be, a lot of people are suspecting it's going to be something with Transnistria there. And anyway, I've already warned, I guess, in video quite a while ago, maybe months ago, about this is a very potential hot spot and we might see something. Just keep your eyes open. But anyway, that's one reason why I think Putin is very nervous at the moment. And I say that he is nervous. He looks very nervous to me. So let's keep going. What else are we out here? So many people around here, coming and going from all different ways, you know. That's the main thing I really wanted to talk about, actually, is this threat that there could be another part of the war breaking out there. It's not so good for Russia, by the way. They have actually some troops, and I'm sure that they're preparing for a contingency in case that actually does happen. They have some extra troops. I think there's some that are recently trained, and I don't know if they've been put to use yet. Oh, there's another thing I didn't talk about, but there's some talk in Russia. This is in Russian news, so you're not really getting this. It's kind of quiet over here, but there's talk about a mobilization, and a lot of people said there's already a mobilization going underway in Russia. They're getting certain people that are trained in some areas, and normally lately, as you guys have been hearing, that it's a volunteer, you know, people that have already been trained, you know, not being conscripted. Older people that have already served their time are possibly getting mobilized at this moment. Those are a nice Siamese cat. Oh, it's already taken off. They're already they're getting mobilized, so there's just some word about that. I don't know if that's true or not, just putting it out for you guys out there. But something looks like it's going to happen with Odessa, and I don't know, Putin is concerned. I just wanted to put that out, and I can't emphasize that enough. I don't know where all these people are coming from and where they're going. Let me walk down this way then. So I kind of don't like people coming up on me. You know, you're busy doing these videos, and you know, you can't watch other people coming from all kinds of different directions, things going on. I don't know. I don't know, maybe that's me. I don't know. From old days, like to be able to react, see what's going on. Anyway, so as I said, French and UK soldiers are already in Odessa, and maybe you're going to see some bombing. Maybe it's not going to even be reported by the West if this actually happens. So keep your eyes open on that. It's a major provocation. And that's about it. That's the main part I wanted to talk about right there. And I'm just saying, keep your eyes open. You never know. I don't know if anybody's really reporting this. I think that Colonel McGregor, he should be talking about this. He's normally very, very, what do you call it? Informed about what's going on in the world. So anyhow, that's about all I have to put out today. And we got to put these videos together. I don't, because I said things were messing up here, and now I have to consolidate a video. Oh, that cat, beautiful cat, a furry Siamese cat. Let me see if he lets me get close to him. Let me turn this around if you guys could see, sitting on the fence here. Kitty, blue eyes, huh? Oh, are you a nice kitty? Huh? Look at that, you're not running away. Let me see if I can get me and you in the picture together. You guys see this cat? Hey, I have some food with me too. I'll feed you after I shut the video off, okay? I'm gonna shut the video off and see if this guy wants some kitty food, okay? It's not a stray. Maybe, yeah, he'd probably run away anyway. So, thanks for joining me, and I'll see you on the next one, everybody. Bye-bye.